So, the topic of today is that how to turn data output into business outcome. And before we start, just briefly about myself. My name is Hannu Järvi, and I have maybe trained about according to my calculation, maybe about 2,000 people on data modeling. So in my previous career, I was a consultant and a trainer in all topics about data and analytics. And nowadays, what is my role here at Ellie Technologies? So I'm the Chief Success Officer, and what it means that it is actually related to the topic of today. So my main responsibility is that our customers achieve the business outcomes, so that instead of just producing a lot of output in their data initiatives, they achieve the value with the help of Ellie. So responsibilities such as customer onboarding, methodologies to make the data product design easier, and so forth. And also helping our sales in pre-sales support. But that's briefly about myself. So let's move into the topic. So all of us who have been in this industry for some time, in the data industry, developing data solutions, the following mantra, what you can see, is probably quite familiar. So if you build it, they will come. The idea is that because there is so much value in data, so if we build data solutions such as data warehouses or something smaller, a reporting solution, there will be lots of use cases, lots of people who will benefit enormously from the data, from the information they have at their hands. The sad reality is the following: they will not come. They usually don't come regardless of how much output we create there in our reporting solutions, data warehouses, and such. So what is the mantra really? What it means? If we build it and they will come. The normal idea is that because organizations today, they have lots of data in various systems, but it is unorganized. If we organize it, if we build a data warehouse, data platform, reporting solution, if we get the data organized, there will be lots of people who are able to turn the data into information, and information then eventually turns into business outcomes, value and money. But the thing there is that by just maximizing the output, bringing a lot of data into our data warehouses, bringing lots of reports and so on, means that there may be something for everyone, but it doesn't mean that there is enough for anyone. So it very often be that there may be even 80% of what is needed for someone, but 80% is not enough if 100% is needed in order to really create value, to create the business outcome. And what I've seen is that typically in the projects and in organizations that are more successful, the reality is more like something like this. That they have and actually, when we came up with this picture was when a couple of years ago I was working with the owner, the product owner of a data platform for Fortune 500 company. And we noticed that actually what is the reality there is that never there is enough data in our data platforms. There is basically never such a situation that we have enough information in the data platform, regardless of whether we build it for 3 months, a year, or 10 years. Always when there is a business need, we need to have some information for the data platform, but we have to complement it with all kinds of ad hoc solutions. And very often we build the whole like a shadow IT, shadow analytics solutions on in parallel with our official data platform. So what is the reality, whether we like it or not, is that whenever we need information for the business, part of that can be fetched from the organized data foundation, the data platform, or whatever we call it. But always we have to complement it what is brought from the unorganized data sources here. So it means that in order to provide information, we need data from them both, and hopefully we are also able at the same time to arrange the data that what we need there from the unorganized data. In the same time we organize it, that next time when we need the same data, it is already organized and easier to use the next time we need it. But the thing is that this is how it works in organization in real life, and the best we can do is that we facilitate this kind of process, that we make it easier for the business owners, business users to use the unorganized data and organized data at the same time. But the question is, and it is related to the original mantra, if we build it, they will come. So wouldn't it still makes a lot of sense that we try to maximize the output, that we try to bring as much information to our data platform as possible? Because wouldn't it be much nicer if we had 80% ready? Because then once we need something, we would need to only bring the rest 20% there. The truth is that it is usually not possible. The thing there is that in normal life situation, we just cannot glue the remaining 20% on top of what we already have there. And the reason there is that because everything is so interconnected. So when we try to glue something on top of something that already exists there, usually it ends up in huge refactoring efforts, and very often we have to build everything from scratch, or even worse, we stubbornly try to glue the remaining 20% without success, and eventually we build it from scratch. But actually, this is like the data engineering angle to this problem, and it is not the main topic for us today, because today we will concentrate on the business users, the decision makers. So what else is there in between the information and the business outcome? So why the organization usually are so bad in turning the information into business outcomes? And of course, information turns into business outcomes only through informed decisions and actions. Information as such doesn't create any value. It turns into value through decisions and actions towards the business outcome. But it only works if we have the right output. Maximizing just any kind of output doesn't help us. We need to have the right output. But what is the right output a decision maker needs? Let's have a look. And let's have a look through a play. We go through a play by name, A Day in the Life of a Decision Maker. And the main character in our play is Mary. Mary is US sales director for a global consumer goods company. How does Mary's day look like? Mary sees that our sales are plummeting. So where does our sales fall? What is the reason? Luckily, Mary has Jeff, a trusted analyst who always helps her with this kind of information needs. Jeff is there bridging between Mary and the data engineers and data scientists. Jeff finds out that the sales is falling in states of Washington, California, and New York. Mary wants to know what is the previous track records of the regional sales directors in charge of those states, those regions. Jeff checks his data and sees that they all have an excellent track record. That is probably not the reason for the sales plummeting. So then Mary has to think about some other things. It is not about the people. So is it related to something in our product portfolio? So what are the product categories in which the sales is plummeting in those states? Jeff sees that it is in premium categories. Sales is plummeting in premium categories in Washington, California, and New York. And Mary is a little bit puzzled. So how about the other states? Why is it only on those states? Jeff checks his data and sees that actually we haven't seen it. Actually, the sales is falling everywhere. The sales in premium categories is falling everywhere, but we haven't just seen it because the relative share of premium sales is so much smaller in other states. In this kind of trendsetter states, the premium categories sell more at the moment. But Mary thinks maybe it doesn't matter. So does it really matter if the share of premium categories is so low? Do we really care? We should. We should care because even though it is in absolute terms it is quite low, but premium categories are very important for our brand perception. So what we will see in the future, so if the sales plummeting in premium categories, it will plummet in other categories as well in the very near future. So the question is, what shall we do? Shall we lower our prices? This is not a question that Jeff can answer. It's Mary's decision. I cannot answer. What would be the exact question that Mary you want to know? Let's have Act 2. Mary thinks for a while. So, okay, in order to know whether I should lower the prices, so I should know what is the price elasticity. So what is the price elasticity of our premium products? Jeff says that it seems that actually, surprisingly, if we lower in the past, lowering prices doesn't help because for premium products there is a positive price elasticity, meaning that higher prices means usually better sales. Oh, so what then have our competitors done? Jeff says that actually this is exactly what they have done. They have raised their prices and at the same time they have heavily invested in influencer marketing. Mary, the pressure starts to mount on Mary. She says that something has to be done. We have to follow somehow. So are there still some marketing channels, if we have lost the influencer marketing, are there still some channels where we could conquer the first place, where we could be the number one, but at a reasonable price, so meaning that the return of investment would still be positive? Once again, Jeff checks all his data, all the data available, and sees that actually it seems that brick and mortar still matters. So it matters, so if we conquer the premium shopping locations like shopping centers, premium shopping centers, airports, and so on, that's the place that we can conquer at a reasonable price. Okay, Mary thinks that she has everything that she needs to make a decision. And this is what she decides. I will raise the prices of our premium categories with a stunning 30%. I raise it even more than the competitors. And I invest heavily in the presence in premium locations like airports, premium shopping centers, and so on. I know that despite the very, very high price hike, the investment in marketing, it will bring our premium categories into the red. The profitability will be red, but it will come back into improved sales of other categories. That's why we need to do it. So we expect our profitability to improve considerably, even though we invest so heavily. Mary needed all the questions answered to make an informed decision. And what if the new mantra would be something like this? I know that it is not a very marketing friendly mantra, but it is what the life really is for a decision maker. So in order to make informed decisions, the decision makers require answers to a series of questions. Decision makers need to have a dialogue with the data, and they need to have all the needed questions answered before making an informed, good decision. As the life of the decision maker seems to be so fascinating, why don't we follow Mary's life for 10 months? But to your disappointment, actually what we are going to follow, it's going to be a little bit boring. It's the same old play again, but in a slow motion. The new name of the play is 10 months in the life of a decision maker. The same main character, Mary. Mary has the same questions. Now we are in October 2023, that just ended. Mary has 2 questions, and luckily Jeff has the answers available. Jeff can answer right away, where the sales is plummeting, and he also knows that it is not because of the people, they have an excellent track record. Because Mary doesn't waste any time, she has the next questions ready. So if it is not the people, maybe it is about the products. What product categories it is plummeting? And how is the sales of different categories? It is not about the premium categories yet, because we don't know that it is about premium categories. But what is the sales of different categories in other states, not only in those states? Now, Jeff says, when we gathered information requirements, this was not among the information requirements. I don't have the information ready. It takes some time, maybe a few weeks. In a few weeks you will get the answers, but not now. It turns out that it takes 3 months, because it usually takes more than what we expect. 3 months later, Jeff can tell that the sales is plummeting in premium categories. And actually, it seems to be plummeting in all states. We haven't just seen it, because it is so insignificant in most of the states. Again, Mary doesn't waste any time. She has the follow-up question ready. Does it matter? What a difficult question. It is not a simple information. How do I answer it? But Jeff is very talented. 2 months later, he has the answer there. It does, because it seems that it drives the sales of other categories. Now, it's March. We have spent 5 months. Shall we lower our prices? Again, Jeff doesn't have the answer. 5 months and thinking. I must make the decision. If we don't have the information ready, maybe I trust on my gut feeling. Let's lower our prices by 20%. Wrong decision. So let's pretend that the pressure is not too high yet, and Mary continues the dialogue. 5 months and thinking, Mary is not too happy anymore. So the question is that what is the price elasticity? Again, that was not on our list of requirements. So a month later, Jeff has an answer. A follow-up question once again, what have our competitors done? Once again, a month passes. And then the final question. Are there still marketing channels that we can conquer? And now it is something totally different than what we have covered this far. Again, it takes a stunning 3 months. There are summer holidays in between. And then 10 months later, Mary has all the information ready to make an informed decision. The decision is the same as before. She introduces it to the management team. They say, too late. We have lost the game. We have lost also in the other categories across the whole United States. You are fired, Mary, and so is Jeff. And this is how I have seen. Of course, this is an unexaggerated. So it is, of course, it is an extreme case, but it is something similar that happens all the time in real life for the decision-making situations. So what would it require from Mary and other decision makers? So if they are going to manage with information, they have to manage the information they have at their hands. So instead of having this kind of push model where you just push information in the development pipeline, in the very first place you have to think about what are the desired outcomes. You start from the desired outcomes and then plan your information needs accordingly. But unfortunately, this is easier said than done. And the reason why it is easier said than done is that it's very, very easy to predict some of the future questions. We know what questions we will have. Of course, we want to know about people, their performance, something about products and so on. But the problem is that it's even impossible. It's very, very difficult, usually impossible for us to predict what kind of future dialogues we will have. Because in this kind of dialogues that we saw there, it is that the follow-up question, we know it only after we have the answer to the previous question. So even though some of the information needs are easy to predict, it is impossible to predict this kind of future dialogues. So I think that we need a different strategy. So instead of trying to anticipate all kind of dialogues that we will have in the future, so instead of trying to predict what are the exact questions we will have, let's try to understand what kind of question we will have. So let's try to understand what is the whole, what is the process, phenomenon or such that the decision maker, in this case, what is the whole, what is the functional operative whole that she needs to understand in order to make informed decisions. So how should we do it? And there is some simple best practices that we have learned how it can be done. And it is called here, or two methodologies combined, yes and 5 whys. And what does it mean? So instead of trying to predict the exact information needs, we try to predict what is the whole that Mary wants to understand. But actually, we'll still stick to seemingly traditional way of gathering requirements. We ask questions about the questions that Mary might have in the future, but actually what we are doing, so we are not actually listing the exact requirements, we are just trying to understand what is the world Mary lives in, what kind of questions and what kind of things she needs to understand. So we adopt this kind of yes and mindset that is used in improvisational theater and comedy. The idea there is that we accept whatever the interviewee says and we encourage her to expand upon her idea. Let's see. Once again, some dialogues there. So as I said there, it is a seemingly traditional requirements gathering. We just asked Mary that please list your information needs. And as you can see here, the roles are now changed because we are gathering the information needs. So Jeff asked Mary what kind of questions she may have in the future. So please list your information needs. We want to know our sales by regions and channels. Yes, and we want to know sales down to sales team. So we want to know not only the regions, but the teams, individuals, and so on. Yes, and sales trends, of course. And now Mary runs out of ideas, so we have to fuel her imagination. So why was it that you need all this kind of information? To identify over and underperformers. Why? Of course, to promote those who perform well, and also to try to find ways to address those who underperform. Now we have something there, so Jeff can present a summary. So what Mary you need? So you need all kinds of information required for improving people performance. Is that correct? Yes. Mary gets the idea, and now when they continue with this kind of mindset, so Mary can think of that, okay, of course, I need also information about the monitoring performance of products, not just people, but products. Yes, and once again, out of ideas, to identify over and underperforming products and product categories. Why? To know which products to kill and where to invest. And what this is that traditionally, if we were just listing requirements, we would be tempted to say that some of the requirements are actually quite difficult to answer, so why don't we let it to future releases? But as I said, we take this kind of a can-do mindset, so we encourage Mary to list more and more requirements. We always say yes, because instead of listing requirements, we want to understand the world Mary lives in. Alright, yes, Anne, what do you need for knowing how to kill and where to invest? Okay, I have to think. Because I want to know if killing products may have any side effects, if it is just the profitability of the product as such, but if there are some side effects, I have to know it. Okay, sounds difficult, but I say yes. What else? Our marketing mix. I want to know our marketing mix, and so on and so on. But let's not continue the details here. You got the picture there. So by having lots of questions, we try to understand the world Mary lives in. And why? What I have here I have all the all the answers that Mary gave us. My intention is not to answer all these information requirements right away. But what I do there, I try to understand what things Mary needs to know about. I have bolded them there: regions, channels, sales teams, and so on. So by now we understand that Mary wants to understand what affects the salespeople performance and also product performance. And we know that the explanation for the performance can be found somewhere in related to these things about regions, channels, sales teams, sales managers, products, and so on. And they are not just isolated islands. We know that these things can have a combined effect. The explanation for product performance, people performance, is the combination of information that we gather about these things. And when it is about the combined effect, so there are this kind of dependencies and causalities that are not direct, but also indirect causalities. So somehow we would need to understand what is the combined effect of these things. We need to know how these things are related. These are the things we need to know about, and we have to know how these things are related. What we do, we start outlining our idea, and this is not, in this webinar, we are not going to touch the data modeling as such, so I don't go into the details here, but we are trying to understand what is the whole world. We are trying to somehow visualize the world, what it consists of, and how things are related in this world. So this would be our first guess of these things and how they are related. It seems that we have regions, there are sales teams, there are sales managers there, and what we are very much interested in are the sales events. Sales events by sales managers and channels, but also about regions and so on. I have all the things listed there. We know from the interview that these are the things we need to know about, but we have to know also how they are related. This is our first guess. We would iterate it and we would add detail and clarify it with the discussions. But this is a very good starting point. So probably this is quite a good starting point if we want to develop a reporting solution for questions that Mary might have in the future. So it means that instead instead of trying to predict all the questions that Mary might have in the future, we try to understand what kind of whole she tries to understand. What means that even though there are some really unexpected questions in the future, the chances are actually quite high that the answer will be found somewhere there in the picture if we implement our data solution accordingly. So let's have a look. Let's acid test our model there. So we have the same dialogues we had there before. So what was it that actually we didn't have these exact questions to start with when we created our data solution, but let's see. Now this is where the discussion went to. So what kind of questions do we have there? Our sales are plummeting. Where does our sales fall? Can we find the information somewhere in the model? Alright, we know our sales events and we can track it back to regions. Yes, we have an answer there. How about the sales managers? What is the track record? We can see sales events by sales managers and sales teams. The answer is there. What product categories is it about? We also know the sales by products, and we know product by product categories. We know the answer there. Yes, it's there. How was this sales of premium categories in other states? Product category premium sales in different states. The answer is there. And now we have the difficult question. Does it matter? Does it matter? Which is about, does it have any side effects? Does it have side effects if our sales is plummeting in certain categories? From here, we can see sales by categories, sales by different categories. We can have compare product category this, sales is this, product category this, sales is something different. We can have this kind of a correlation analysis, and there the answer is most probably there. We have all the data available and so on. And we can continue the discussion, and let's skip a few of the questions there and let's go to some of the latter ones there. The questions there, the last questions are actually quite difficult there. What have our competitors done? It is not something that typically is in this kind of internally thinking data. In typical data warehouse, we think about our own data sources. So typically, we haven't cared about these kind of questions in the first place. So let's check if we would have answers also to this kind of questions there. What have our competitors done? All right. What we have there, we notice early on that from competitors we don't have detailed information. We don't know their sales by products, by channels and so on. But from the public sources we know their total sale by region, channel type and product category. So in high level terms we know it, and also in high level terms we know their presence. They are present in this kind of price categories, this kind of feature families, this kind of product categories, and so on. All right, back to the questions. What have our competitors done? The answer is there. They have been in high price categories in certain areas, in certain channel types and so on. It seems that we have the answer to this question there as well. So the idea there, so what I wanted to demonstrate with this kind of picture, and this diagram is by no means like the ready solution there. It was just the first outline of how the whole that Mary is interested might look like and how things are related. And even with this kind of very high level outline, we can see that if we do things like this, we have something that can answer also to some of the unexpected questions that we couldn't figure out in the first place when we gathered the information needs. So what I want that you have learned from today's webinar, from the experience that we have had with our other customers. Let's have a summary there. So first of all, they're in the very beginning. So if we have a solution where we have something for everyone, but not enough for anyone, it means that we may have 80% of most, but not 100% for any, meaning that no one gets real value because some of their needs are still not answered. So it means that in order to achieve business outcomes, we very typically need answer to this kind of serious questions. We need to have a dialogue with the data, and we cannot know in beforehand where the dialogue will lead us. We know some of the questions, but we don't know the whole dialogue because we know it only after we get answers to the first questions. Anticipating it is an impossible task. Please don't do it. You cannot anticipate all the information needs in beforehand. So instead of trying to anticipate all the information needs in beforehand, I recommend taking another strategy. Please try to understand what is the whole, and by the whole it can be what is the whole end-to-end process, what is the phenomenon, and so on that the decision maker wants to understand, and plan your data product, your data solution accordingly. Please try to build such a data solution that the chances are high that it can answer most of the dialogues that will arise there in the future. Now, I thank you for participating in our webinar, and I wish you come back to our future webinars as well. And hopefully we'll meet in some real life projects someday. Thank you.